There are 7,000 rare diseases on this planet.
Hmm.
So I'm an epidemiologist. So my hypothesis is that they're only rare because I can't see the subtlety of how they present. But if I point AI at the data, I bet you it can find them. And so think about, we only see it because it's misdiagnosed, it's undiagnosed, or I can't cognitively see it. We should be able to start seeing that now with this level of technology.
Welcome to the Microsoft Cloud Executive Enablement Series, where we speak with Microsoft Cloud senior leaders and experts about the latest trends in technologies we're seeing in the market. The goal of this series is to share with you and your teams our perspective on the business value driven by the Microsoft Cloud for our mutual customers, and the opportunities for our partners to grow their business with Microsoft.
Welcome, everyone. We're so happy to be here today to talk about healthcare and AI. And I have just the person to do it. Kathy VanEnkevort, who is the head of the Health and Life Sciences Industry Team at Microsoft. Welcome, Kathy.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here.
I'm so glad that I made it through saying your name without ruining it. That was
That's awesome.
Kathy, you have a really interesting history. Tell us a little bit about how you became the head of this industry team and where you were before that.
So I have led industry teams almost my whole career.
Ah.
I'm an epidemiologist by trade. And, that came from just really the curiosity of the human body, the curiosity of the complexity. I'm also have a math degree, so I love A plus B must equal C. I know that there has to be an answer. I'm extremely curious. And so that took me out to the Pentagon, really looking at the resources that we needed in our military to take care of the fact that where are we going to immunize them with anthrax? How many Kevlar helmets did we need to keep them out of neurotrauma? And so I've been all over the world serving the health of children, malaria. I remember being in a room and the cardiac room had one thing, a stethoscope. And I came back and said, how do I cognitively use my brain to diagnose when I don't have an echo machine? I don't have an x-ray. I had no labs. And I had to use my brain to reason out, did this person have a problem? And it was about gathering as much data as I could. And the more data I gathered, the more I knew, the more I understood. And knowledge is just knowing, right?
Right.
And then all of a sudden starting to put pieces of the puzzle together, and the complexity was crazy. But in healthcare, you know what we did? We'd bring one piece of data together, the clinical piece of data. Or you go to health plan, the claims piece of data. And at the end of the day, I was like, if I knew your credit score, I'd probably actually be able to treat you better. And so it was like, but what if I brought it all together? And then it was like, we're missing a big part, which was the social determinants of health. And you know what is now going to be put on social determinants of health? Digital. Okay, it's not just about, do I only know one language? Am I a single mom? Do I want for food? Do I live in a certain zip code? Digital, do I have access to digital? Is going to become a determinant of your health.
And we saw this during the pandemic. Of course, I did a ton of work enabling folks because I sat in Microsoft Teams during the pandemic and enabling that connection point. And we see it now. There's people in my personal life who I can't get them to answer a text or even an email, but they will get online and talk to their doctor in a video meeting.
Right?
Right? That is something that I also think transcends the generational divide of a great deal of us. And so whether or not you can do that or not, do you have access? Do you have broadband access? Do you have a
Yeah.
device that's capable of that? Have you been schooled in how to do that? All of this is so important when you're thinking about predicting the health and wellness of an entire, planet of people. AI at this point now can come in and help us improve the odds of really achieving health equity.
Oh, yeah. And we have to, because the rate of burnout, it's almost 50% of burnout. During COVID, the amount of moral injury that occurred because a clinician could not properly care for their patient was beyond anything that they had ever suffered previously. And so we have to push human work to a computer. We have to. We have no other choice. We have to take the 8 billion people on this planet, let's just start with the 350 million in America, and allow them to start being CEO of themselves. 2, we have to actually take tedious, soul-wrenching work that's menial, repetitive, and push that to a computer and leave the complex stuff for the providers who are left.
Yes,
Because there
absolutely.
will not be enough there to take care of. So you said it. How do we virtually take care of somebody? How do we actually give someone information and have them access it themselves and have them take care of themselves? How do we meet them closer to their home and not have them come in? Remember, geo-agnostic. I don't care if you're at home. You know, we can help doctors in other countries who don't do surgeries, like a lot. We can help guide them through that with the sake of some of our mixed reality technology and the AI that's in it. The stuff we are going to be able to do will blow your mind.
Kathy, what's it like running the health and life sciences industry team at Microsoft? I know you've been doing it for a couple of years. Tell our listeners and our audience what that's really about.
I have the best job at Microsoft. I've got all the clinicians, the doctors, nurses, people who have actually lived in industry
Uh,
so that we fit Microsoft technology for purpose.
we're here today to really talk about this transformation that's going on with AI in the context of health and life sciences. I know it's a huge opportunity, but help us put some framework around that. How big are we really talking about?
Oh, it's huge. It will be a game changer. And we like to think, I know our audience is partners,
Yeah,
and we're Microsoft.
right.
It's about a 15 to 22 billion dollar total addressable market over the next 3 to 5 years. And it's like, that seems kind of low, but the annual growth rate is about 85%. Huge. And yet we can get super excited about that. But if you're really in healthcare, it's not what's in it for us, it's what's in it for our actual customers. And right now, the game-changing opportunity for them is the $1 trillion worth of untapped potential, untouched solutions, problems that have just not been able to be solved heretofore, that now with AI, we're about ready to go solve them.
That's amazing because most people, for the folks who don't do this industry work day in and day out, our experience of healthcare is when we go to the doctor. It's a very limited view of what this industry is really about. To me, it seems like now we're actually poised to solve some of these issues that you hear people talk about all the time, but have been either too complex or too difficult to solve. Is that where we are right now with AI?
Yeah, I mean, we have tried for a long time to solve these problems. We work with some of the smartest people in the world. It's not for lack of trying, but the technology is catching up. Because, I mean, the problems that we have to solve are we don't see the person, we see the patient. And you only see about 20% of who they really are. And the things that are actually causing the most burden for healthcare is what we don't see. And with AI and technology, we now have the ability to bring all that data together. We call it multimodal, right? The clinical data, the imaging data, the pathology data, the genomics data. If I can bring that all into one spot, point technology at it, and be able to exhume from it insight that heretofore I cannot see. Let's use rare disease. There are 7,000 rare diseases on this planet. So I'm an epidemiologist. So my hypothesis is that they're only rare because I can't see the subtlety of how they present. But if I point AI at the data, I bet you it can find them. And so think about, we only see it because it's misdiagnosed, it's undiagnosed, or I can't cognitively see it. We should be able to start seeing that now with this level of technology.
Well, I have to believe that that's going to be transformative. Do you think that there's something that's going to happen, now that partners can actually help our customers with that will lift that burden?
Absolutely. And you bring up a really great point. It's not even the aged that are going to use the technology, it's their caregiver.
Yes.
And the patient is the most underutilized member of the care team. We have got to help them start taking care of themselves because we don't have enough people to do it.
Well, now you're pointing to something that you were educating me about as we prep for this interview about the changes, the generational changes and the changes in professionals over time. That I also feel like AI is going to help us make it through or make it over these things. And tell us a
Yeah,
little bit about that.
yeah,
Because you freaked me out when you talked to me about it. I
yeah,
was like, oh my goodness, this is a really big deal. So
yeah. I'd
share
be
it.
freaked out too if we didn't have our partners who were going to help us bridge this vital gap in the fact that we have 4 generations coming together and they all want care differently. They all consume care differently. They all interact with it differently. And we are going to need technology to help us. We have in 7 years, every baby boomer will be over the age of 65. Very complex, very intricate care that's going to have to be delivered. They consume a tremendous amount of resources, of which by 2030 we'll be down about 10 million providers and nurses.
Mm.
And the fund to support that, those contributing to that fund will be down. We've got 3 generations coming behind them. Let's take the Gen Ys. They don't have a primary care doc, most of them, about 45% of them don't. They want to be seen in retail health or urgent care. The Gen Zs, if they can't schedule their appointment online, they're going somewhere else. How do you create the AI that knows every single generation, allows us to actually create the digital front door for each of them and how they want to be seen? How do we actually consume all elements of the person and compute and serve it back to them in an experience that allows them to have ease, reduce the friction? They say loyalty only happens when you make someone's life easier.
That is so true. That is so true. And I think, I would wish for a world in which all of the partners who are listening, but also all the customers that they serve, understand that important point that you just made. If I was a partner, I'd want to be thinking about how do I position my company to take advantage of what is going to happen next, to drive growth in my company by also serving humans, frankly, in this space. What do you think are their opportunities and how should they think about that from a leadership perspective?
Number 1, don't go it alone. Number 2, solve a problem that is wild and big, and the organizations can weave it into the fabric of their organization to where the patient benefits, the worker benefits, the provider benefits. And so when I think about our partners, they are our lifeblood. I think I told you earlier, we used to be in hospitals and we used to be in pharma companies and med tech. Because of our partners, we are now playing an integral role in healthcare,
Mm.
in actual discovery, in actual connectedness with our med tech companies. And so together with our partners, we have to go it together with the technical decision maker and the business decision maker. And it is working fantastic when we go in together collectively and we help that C-suite understand that they cannot continue to make isolated decisions. It is not working for their health systems, for the pharma company, for med tech, because these are wildly large problems. The easy ones have been solved for. Okay, the technology is now here, and it is time for us to, I always say, relearn what we know about our problems. And that's the thing. Don't go it alone. Let's make sure we go it together. Let's make sure we're solving wild, crazy problems, and let's not solve them faster. Let's solve them completely different than we ever thought we could, because the tech is here to do it.
Wow, you are really talking about such a growth mindset that you're asking from people. You're super passionate about this, and that's what I love. I think that passion is bred by knowledge and enthusiasm and a vision for opportunity, which you clearly have for our partners. But let's be concrete about it. Can you share with us some success stories or some examples of how people have done this? Because, sometimes it's difficult to think outside of the box you've been living in.
Yeah.
It's time to blow up the box. Throw out the box, make a new vista, think differently, approach partnership, approach your practice, your business differently. That's a lot of change, but there's been some real success stories I know that you have
Yeah, we have so many of our customers who are doing some really great things. I'll start with Mercy. They jumped on AI immediately. They knew that they had some problems to solve and they were going to lead the way. And that is unlike a lot of healthcare. They tend to be a little bit laggard because there's so much at stake. So they went, you know what? We trust our customers, we trust our patients, we trust our consumers to actually start doing a few things for themselves. So taking AI and actually putting it in front of laboratory tests and allowing the patient to go in and actually ask of the laboratory test, interpret this for me. Show me what is abnormal. Being able to, when someone actually calls the patient, it leading to the person calling saying, you know what, there's a few other things that they also need to know. There's a gap in care here. They have a follow-up in 2 weeks. They also have this particular moment that they need to make sure that they go after. And so being able to actually not just answer the moment, but be able to talk to them. They want to be known. They're like, how come you do not know me? I share my most trusted secrets with you. And then also their own workers. Policies, procedures are changing rapidly. Think about AI as just tons of documents that we ring fence and we put AI in front of it. And we are able to now ask, I've been here 5 years. How much PTO do I have now? What's the latest policy on how we do a particular workflow? I'll take Providence, changing workflow all the time. A lot of errors happen in the handoffs, the in-betweens of care. If we can actually train on all the constant workflows and make sure those things are continuing to happen as change happens, it's happening so quickly because of the way in which COVID has actually taught us. We can grow, we can learn very quickly. Becton Dickinson, the Pyxis machines inside hospitals there where the automatic pharmacy distribution happens. There's a thing called drug diversion, where a co-worker will actually divert the drug to themselves, the opioid to themselves versus the patient. So there's AI now. As soon as that drug hits the front door of that hospital, it is tracked all the way through till it goes to the patient. Health plans, Elevance Health, prior authorization, one of the most friction-full processes when a patient is at their most and height of anxiety, waiting to see if something actually is getting approved while they are fibrillating inside about their condition. 95% accuracy, they were able to go grab all the pieces and parts that were going to be documented to justify the care like that, allowing the nurses to actually go free up themselves and go do more complex tasks. I can go on and on.
What are the risks and challenges that I should really pay attention to as I venture into this space?
There will be no customer that won't question the safety and efficacy of the AI. And as much as I know this is going to be a game changer, and I am so excited, it will only be adopted at the pace of trust. Okay? Unless I trust it, I will not adopt it. I don't care how awesome you say it is. And so most of this, there's no AI without IA, an information architecture. And that information architecture is our mandate and our promise to these partners that we are going to build a technology infrastructure that they can build their innovative enabling technology on to these critical areas of the modern business. And that data will be secure. That data will follow policy and guidelines in a highly regulated industry like healthcare, for HIPAA, for all the safeguards for cybersecurity. Because the amount of data that has to be brought in to make this AI accurate requires us to actually go and get it and have customers actually give it to us, and it has to bypass privacy rules. It has to be transparent and it has to be interpretable. Heretofore, you ask any doc, any nurse, they're going to say, that AI was built in that room over there in a black box. I have no idea all the inferences that were made to make it come to this conclusion. That is not the AI of today. The AI of today is coming forward and saying, if I'm going to put it in my workflow now, it used to take us a while, and I'm going to make a judgment and a decision off of this, I need to understand how you got here. So make sure it's interpretable, make sure it's transparent. Make sure that it's non-biased. Remember, AI is coming to us from data that we've collected from someone who actually has a digital footprint, someone we've actually codified their interaction with the health system. What about those who don't?
Right. I think that is such an important piece that you're bringing up there. And again, I know how passionate you are about this because you speak about it so eloquently. It's almost like how in financial services we think about the unbanked individual. Well, we have people throughout this country who aren't having interactions on a regular basis with this system. That digital footprint is only a couple of toes.
That's right.
Right. And so how are you thinking about that when you think about being innovative and bringing those folks in and creating these experiences? Are you having those conversations? What are our tactics for that?
That's a really great question. And, when we talk about health equity,
Yep.
I tell you what,
Now you're saying you've
oh,
already
yeah,
said a bunch of words that I really like. You said information architecture. You said now you're talking about health equity. Now we're getting into it.
that's
I'm
right.
super
That's right.
excited. Yeah, keep
And,
going.
and as an epidemiologist, my job is burden of disease upon the people.
Ah,
Okay, and
wow.
not just the people on the coast. I'm talking about the people in rural America. And there is so much that we are now able to do with virtual care, with our ability to actually provide access. So people in zip codes, and oh, by the way, I can probably predict your health by what zip code you live in.
Interesting.
Ooh, what a problem.
Yeah, that is a problem.
And if we know better, we have to do better. So I know if that zip code is non-healthy, what am I doing to try to say, digital means geo-agnostic, which means I don't care where you live. I don't care if you're on the moon. I don't care if you're in another country. We are providing access to care that allows you to actually bridge the gap between what we know and what we actually do for you. And so bringing all that data together in real time so that we can help you it's no small feat. And that's what Microsoft's promise is we are truly going to help you achieve more, then we need to make sure that we are collecting all elements of compute and serving it back up to you in an experience that helps activate the behavior that we're actually trying to solve for.
At a broad level, what are the solutions, the problems that you think AI is really solving for healthcare?
Yeah, I mean, one, it's able to actually solve some of those very tedious, menial, repetitive tasks that we can actually just delegate to a machine. All right, no human in the loop. You know, RPA, we call it robotic process automation. Then the assisted AI, right, the big time machine learning, the NLP, natural language processing, where we're seeing all that generative AI. That is allowing us to actually dig deep and find insights that were buried so deeply that we could not see them. So what it's doing is creating a second set of eyes for our providers and our nurses to help them actually do much more in real time, better decision making faster.
Are there challenges that are being created as we implement those things? How should our partners think about that?
I talk about the economy of insight. The issue in a nutshell, which is, this sounds really expensive, right? In order for me to get all this insight now, how much is it really gonna cost me? Right? I gotta have servers, I gotta put it in the cloud, I have to have AI, do I need data scientists? Do I have to actually have certain types of digital technologies that serve it up? Do I have to rip out whole processes and unlearn what I actually know about my problem and change my workflows? That's not happening in healthcare, right? There are things that happen in healthcare that you just can't rip out. You digitize one moment only to go to the next and it's analog. How do you do that? And what we're trying to do is make sure that the challenge isn't just shifting workload from AI, we're actually removing it altogether. There is, how do I actually make sure that I don't hurt somebody? The AI will make mistakes. How is it inconsistent? How is it misinformation? How is it actually not rational? And so at what point do you say, I believe it? Okay. And then lastly, for our partners, Microsoft allows us to enable our partners to actually build IP, intellectual property, that solve these problems. But if it's going to help our hospitals, pharma companies, medtech make decisions clinically, it needs to go through FDA approval. And this will be no small task because it will be likened to a medical device that can produce harm, that could actually save someone's life. And so that's for us what we have to figure out is at what point are we leaving opportunity, saving lives, reducing morbidity, improving the longevity of someone because we might actually hurt someone? Where's that balance? Who's making that decision? You know, the executive order from President Biden was put out. We said we need to examine this. And Microsoft is in the center of that. And so we do not have all the answers right now. There's no precedence for where we're going. We are highly committed to this promise because there is hope where it is.
You spoke about digitizing one moment in a workflow only to go to the next and have it find that it is analog. So this is like I get to operate on the portal for for my mom's healthcare and then I have to fax something somewhere.
Totally.
It's so jarring, right? I think that complexity is something that I want our partners to understand it because you said something really important about working with them. Like, don't you think that the customer engagement skills that people have are going to be like put to the test? They're going to be supercharged by this process of having this conversation?
Absolutely. Weaving yourself through the fabric of your customer, in this case, healthcare, is very difficult. And if you do not sit down with the customer and bring all those stakeholders together, they're not used to being together, right? I talked earlier about the technical decision maker and the business decision maker. Most of what we're talking about is made in the IT department, right? Just go figure it out, put it in, and then we'll figure out how to put the change management in place and use it. That is not how this is going to be. Back to unlearn what we know about the problem, because I don't want to make an old process better at all. I want to completely remove some of it. And so for our partners, it's making sure they sit down together and know that the technology is now there, that we don't have to live in that point solution world. That is gone. That is actually hurtful to healthcare. This is a major platform shift where we can put something in and launch every moment that matters off of it. And our partners are the moments that matter. I don't care if you're doing virtual health. I don't care if you're coming in and doing revenue cycle management. I don't care if you're coming in and building chatbots or if you're securing the peace of mind that comes from all of that. They're going to be able to bring their data in once and reuse it many. And that's actually the piece we have never been able to do. We never been able to do real time before. We got our insight after the patient left.
Our partners are either embedded in this journey already or just starting out, depends on where they are in their journey with AI and transforming their own practice. How are they going to stay up to date? How are they going to stay connected with brilliant minds like yours as they do this?
The best way to educate yourself is to just use it yourself. I mean, if you're not using Copilot or you're not, just go use the normal Chat GPT. Once you know it and use it, your mind will click on. Two, we have a Microsoft partner blog that gives you everything, where to go, what AI training you should take, how to use our Copilots, how to weave it into the fabric of their own solutions, what responsible AI principles they need to be checking off: fairness, equity, accountability, transparency, right? How do you check yourself? There's a partner network and a partner community where we get together and talk. If you're wondering how in the world do I do X, one thing I don't want our partners to do is start building the tech that we are building, because spike your strength. We are really good at the underlying infrastructure. No one better. They're really good at the vertical problem solving inside that hospital. They walk the halls with our customers. And you take that strength and our strength and you put it together, and you have our industry team there checking both of those. you will learn so quickly. And so I think those are the things. There's no shyness of resources and opportunities that we provide for our partners. I tell you what, I go to our partner blog because that's where I'm learning myself so quickly. I can't hardly keep up.
Absolutely. I heard you say the partner page, the partner program, your particular team. Of course, I love the community because we have so many folks there that can answer questions. But what I really heard you say is don't go it alone, right? Spike your strength. That was a great turn of phrase because we have these places to help you, the partner blog and other things that you mentioned so that you don't have to start from scratch. And there are actual humans that are here to answer your questions and help you along this journey. This has been such a transformative conversation for me. I feel privileged to get to sit across from you and listen to your passion and everything you've had to share today. Can you give us the 3 key takeaways for the folks who are listening or watching for their journey?
Know what you are uniquely qualified to do to transform healthcare, and then bring us along, because we will enable that and we will empower it. It's our mandate. 2, make sure you are sitting with your customers and bringing them along the journey. Make sure you're validating with them. We have to treat AI almost like a clinical trial, okay? If we don't prove it in the real world, it will not be adopted. And lastly, it will not be adopted unless they can trust you. And so make sure that you're doing everything possible to move at the pace of trust. And that will only come from actually building a relationship with your customer.
Absolutely. Authenticity at scale, know your strengths, don't go it alone, and really operate at that speed of trust. That is fantastic advice from a very accomplished person. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us on this series. We know that the partners are going to get so much from your knowledge.
Thank you so much.
That's it for this episode. We'll see you in the next one.
And that wraps up today's episode. Don't forget that this episode is a part of a series featuring some of our most experienced and innovative global executives, packed full of great insights and examples of how to make the most out of working alongside Microsoft. If you haven't already, make sure to check out our other episodes. No matter your industry or area of focus, the Microsoft Global Partner Enablement Team is here to enable you and your teams to achieve more. If you want to hear a little more of this episode, we have a podcast which has some more of our discussion and some bonus content. If there's an area of cloud innovation you'd like to hear more about, please send us a note at salesenablement-gsi@microsoft.com so that we can create content that meets your enablement needs. Thank you for listening, thank you for engaging with us, and thank you for being a Microsoft partner. We'll see you on the next episode of the Microsoft Cloud Executive Enablement Series.